All right, we're back and we got a good one. I am super excited. Levi Haines, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Dude, I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and I always try to time episodes when I think they'll hit the best. And, dude, I tweeted out after the World Team Trials, or maybe during your finals match, Levi Haines confirmed Hoss. Don't know where I first heard that word, but when I watch you wrestle, that's what comes to mind, and that's what I tweeted. So I guess let's just start there. Fresh off a World Team Trials win, heading to Final X, and it's kind of weird because winning the World Team Trials, I know, is just a step in the process. I understand the job's not done type of mentality, but it does have to feel good to win the World Team Trials, be heading to Final X. How was that winning that tournament and now heading to Final X?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say obviously the goal going there was to win it, but just being able to compete again was what I look forward to the most. Um, I was just really thankful for the opportunity to compete with my teammates, and yeah, I think like you're saying, just kind of another step in that direction. Obviously, I think it's pretty exciting to get the rest on Final X. I've watched it a couple times. I even got to go watch it when it was in New Jersey one year. So to be competing in it is pretty neat, and I'm really excited.
It also has to feel kind of like a dual meet. I mean, it's just ridiculous that Penn State slash NWC has 7 guys in Final X. I mean, 10 would literally be a dual meet, like 10 on 10. But, and you know, on one hand, like being a part of a Penn State wrestling dynasty, that might seem like the norm, but you don't typically see this on the freestyle side of things. What is it like when, and we'll talk about the match in a minute, but what is it like when you're going through this with so many of your teammates?
Yeah, I think it just is a testament to our RTC program that we have at Penn State, and I think it's also a testament to guys coming in and are ready to compete right away. And it just seems like college we've seen recently. It seems like guys are ready to go younger and younger, and I think that's also starting to reflect on the freestyle stage. Um, but going and being able to compete with the guys you wrestle like all season with is really special. Josh and I were talking about it a lot when we were competing at the World Team Trials, and for whatever reason, the freestyle just feels different. Like when you're going to compete, it's not like just one big dual meet. Like
Yeah.
you're wrestling for a tournament, and it just has a different feel to it. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but like just when you go compete in these freestyle tournaments, it's just different. For me, like I really enjoy wrestling freestyle. So when I get the opportunity to compete, I usually jump on it. Like they reach out about me going down to the Pan Ams, and I was like, absolutely. And obviously, coming off the nationals, it was really easy for me. Coming up short, it's like I just want to get back on the mat as fast but as smart as I can. So it made sense to go compete there, get some freestyle matches in, and then be ready to wrestle at the World Team Trials. So that was pretty cool, being able to go down there as well.
I know Josh was like kind of just watching. It's kind of crazy. He was like just watching the open, watching guys competing. He's like, all right, I'm going to go into the World Team Trials. For you, is it kind of the same thing, or were you thinking of it since day one of entering?
Yeah, no, I had kind of shaped up a game plan before that. I knew I was going to compete. With going to Pan Am's, I was like 2 weeks after the Nationals, and then it was like 2 weeks later, it was the Open, and then 2 weeks later, it's like the World Team Trials. So I thought making weight 4 times like that and then competing would be a lot. So I figured I'll just go down and get my freestyle matches in at the Pan Ams, and then instead of going to the Open, I'll sit the Open out and then go compete at the trials. I guess the only negative side is if you don't qualify yourself, then it's like you have one shot. But that thought never crossed my mind. So
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you don't have a lack of confidence. You mentioned after NCAA's, like even more so, you come off a loss and you have that fire even more probably burning. You did have a rematch with Dean Hamiti. I know it's like, okay, folk style, freestyle, but dude, towards the end of that match, it looked like it was a takedown clinic to the point where I think if they just took the time off the board and they just said, why don't you guys just keep wrestling, I don't think those takedowns were ever going to stop. How good did it feel to kind of get that one back from NCAA's? Obviously, very different circumstance. Like the NCAA's match is more about the NCAA championship and this and that, but still, you've only had 4 losses in college, which we'll talk about in a minute. But to get that one back, how'd that one feel?
Yeah, obviously, it felt good. I don't know if it felt better than any other win. I think I was just more proud of the fact that I just kind of went in there and competed the way I knew I could, and made some small adjustments from the first match that we had wrestled. And I think I did a better job in this match of making in-match adjustments. So being able to do that, I think, is important, and just seeing that growth in myself is really, really cool to see, but also just believing in what my coaches are telling me and their guidance on how to get better. So yeah, I really respect Dean. He's a great competitor. So yeah, getting to toe the line against a guy like that is always really exciting for me. And obviously I wanted to win that match, but win or lose, nothing really changes, other than if I lost, I wouldn't be wrestling in Final X. So I think just being true to my character and going and competing to the best of my ability was a big difference in that match.
And going back to NCAA's, this might be one of those things that's more of a, I feel like sometimes whether it's media, fans, it's easy to get caught up in, like, the way I kind of cover the sport, I look for the storylines. I think a lot of fans look at storylines. One of the big storylines heading into NCAA's was you and Hamiti wrestling and your former coach, David Taylor, in the opposing corner. And there was a couple tweets I put out that Oklahoma State fans didn't like, where I was like, maybe David won't be in the corner, maybe he will, whatever. But for you, your perspective, what was it like? Like, obviously, you forewent your senior year of high school to come to the MWC. You're training them to David Taylor. You guys had a super close relationship. And then he has this opportunity. He goes to Oklahoma State. What was that like for him to leave and then for you to, have him in the opposing corner?
Yeah. That's a tough question to answer. So yeah, David was like he's like a big brother to me almost. And so I still look up to him. So when he left, it was tough for me. I understood why he went, like that's a really cool opportunity. And I don't blame him at all for taking that opportunity, and he's doing well for himself. I think in that first match, definitely I wrestled a little bit more emotional than what I would have liked to have. I don't think it really changed the way I competed too much, but definitely wrestled emotional rather than just competing how I typically do.
Yeah.
But he's got to take care of his guys, and I understand that. So I don't blame him for sitting in the corner at all. And this time I kind of came to terms with it. Like, he's going to sit in his corner, and, that's his job now. And my job is to compete for the guys in my corner. I know they got my back. So I don't feel like I competed as emotional as I did in the first one. It was definitely weird for me. That first match was weird just because he'd always been my guy, he'd always been my corner. So it's definitely different. Kind of cool storyline, though, I guess. Not many people can say that that's happened to them. And I think it just shows it's a testament to how successful that we've both been and the growth that we've both had. So pretty neat.
Yeah, and when I tweeted it, the context for my initial tweet was, I'm like, we might not even see David in his corner, not from a standpoint of like, oh, hey, David doesn't want to be in his current guy's corner. I'm like, but if you got Plot on deck and you got other guys on deck, he might just naturally be in the back, where I'm like, it wasn't so much like David either avoiding the corner or whatever else. But it was a storyline, like, as soon as, and look, I think like competition is good in sports. And so when you have Oklahoma State on this like hype train, those storylines are what builds the program. And you could tell, even when David when Hamiti won in the semis, you could tell David wasn't like in the corner celebrating. Like, I'm sure if I have him on here and bring that match up, like he'll probably say something similar to what you just said. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
no,
I
no, I
remember
still
when
have
you
a
were
lot
at M2. Like, I remember those days. Like, it wasn't that long ago.
yeah, no, not at all, not at all. No, I still have a lot of love for Dave, and I know he has the same for me, and we want what's best for one another. And unfortunately, sometimes what you want and what someone else wants just kind of conflicts. So, but no, we still have a good relationship, and I hope he knows that. I really hope he does well, and um, yeah, I think too. Like a lot of people don't realize too is like Jimmy Kennedy was the other guy in the corner, and Jimmy had
Yeah.
been my guy for like for 2 years. Like we wrestled a lot, and he helped me make weight when I was down at 57 a lot. So he is another guy that spent a lot of time with him, and he helped me out tremendously. So it's pretty cool storyline to see both those guys doing as well as they are, and I owe a lot to both of them, and I'm sure next time I wrestle uh, one of their guys. So
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be the last time. I'm sure, next year we could likely see another high tensions, high stakes match.
yeah,
Speaking of NCAAs, you battle back for third this year, and your NCAA finishes are second, first, and third, which I know you probably want, obviously, 3 first place finishes, but that's still incredibly impressive to be top 3 years in a row. That shows such consistency. How do you look back at those 3 unique finishes? I know I've heard you talk about, losing the 1 year, well, I think to O'Connor, and like what that did for you. Like looking back at the 3 different finishes, how do you kind of reflect on them?
yeah. So I think my freshman year, that one was tough for me to swallow. Uh, that's when I look back on, and I think I probably didn't compete as well as I could have. I just kind of put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think, yeah, I probably didn't compete the best I could, but I'm still proud of it. I learned a lot from it, so I'm almost thankful that it happened. In a way, obviously, we never want to lose, but it caused me to like not grow complacent. It's like, all right, I have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of got me back on the mat and hungry again. So that one is definitely sits in the back of my mind still. Sometimes I think about it, but it definitely helped me grow a lot. Not even on the like as a wrestler, but off the mat as well. Just realizing, kind of put things into perspective for me because I'll never forget. As soon as I got off the mat and I'm kind of crushed, it was like immediately it was like next year this, next year that. It's like
Yeah.
5 minutes after this match is over. People really, I mean, people care, but it's like not that big of a deal. It's always like
Mm-hmm.
next year or the next thing. So it kind of put that into perspective for me. And then the next year when I won the tournament, I just uh, that one I think was really unique. I got to share that special experience with my parents. It's something I've always wanted to do, and my family was all there. So that one was pretty neat, and I still learned a lot from that one. That year was a lot of weight management and stuff, so some different kind of challenges. Um, but yeah, that was in a good year as well. This year was. I remember after I lost it, it's like, man, this stinks. I've never gone to the national tournament and not wrestled in the finals.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I was like, I can sit here and feel sorry for myself, or I can go score as many team points on the backside for my team. I kind of thought thought about my teammates more than I thought about myself in the moment. I just kind of was like, well, if we're gonna win this trophy, my team needs me, and I have that's my job here. So I'm gonna go get the next best thing. So yeah, I'm proud of coming back and getting third. Um, so yeah, I'm really losing stinks, but
I was
I'm
talking to
proud of it.
Gilman about it. What's that?
I just saying that like I was proud of the way I came back and finished the tournament. But yeah, go ahead about Gilman. He's
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Gilman. We were talking. We've had this like back and forth about second place versus third place finishes. After the Olympics, like, what do you notice on? And I've brought it up with other wrestlers, like talking about the difference in finishing second versus third at NCAA's. What's your
yeah,
take? You've had both now.
right.
What's your take on, like, okay, finishing second, you made it to the finals, you made it to Saturday night, but finishing third, you end your season on a win. Like, I see both of the pros of like having both of those finishes.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. For me, I feel like going out on a win, it definitely feels better,
Yeah.
and I think shows some resilience too in the when faced with some challenges. So I know, like, I feel like guys that like lose first round and wrestle back for third, that's gangster. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think that finishing third in some circumstances is definitely better than getting second. I know I felt a lot better about getting third than I did second.
It's always
Uh,
good to feel like a winner, of course.
yeah. Coming up, yeah, but still, both of them like kind of leave you that feeling. It's like, all right, I came up a little bit short. Like I'm close, but I came up short.
It is crazy to think about. You're 73-4 in college. And a lot of times when you're going through, like, I was just talking to a good friend of mine, Don Bashada, and very successful attorney. And he's telling me, we're just talking about last night about how much you learn from losses in life and failures. And that's where you learn the most. And
Yeah,
obviously
absolutely.
there's like learning in victory, of course, but you also learn a lot in defeat. You've only had 4 losses in college. I'm curious, what loss do you think you learned the most from?
I'd say the probably the finals my freshman year was probably the one that I learned the most from. Just kind of the hype of the situation, and I was a true freshman going to the nationals. And, I'd wrestled on some big stages before, but that was probably the NCAA wrestling is like the pinnacle of the sport. So being that close and coming up a little bit short uh, taught me uh, taught me a lot. Like I said, about off the mat and just kind of put things into perspective. That even though this is the pinnacle of the sport, it's kind of small in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and this year, going up from 157 to 174, there was a lot of questions initially. Anytime you have a guy go up 2 weight classes, it's like, can he? Will he? Like, you have these questions, and you kind of answered them all during the season. Like, you answered those questions with the results. But how
Yeah.
did you feel moving up 2 weight classes this year?
Yeah, I felt really good about it. I mean, I think after I stepped off the scale last year at last year's NCAA's, I said, "Listen, coach, I'm going up in weight, and I'm not going up one. I'm going to go up 2 because this is." It wasn't terrible, but it took a lot of discipline and just a lot of energy to be able to do that. But going up in 2 weight classes is still very similar discipline, and it takes a lot of effort. So it's not super easy, but my body was also ready to grow. So naturally, I just kind of grew. So it made it a little bit easier. It's not like I was having to lift a ton and put on 40 pounds like kind of like Kassar did. That's a little bit different situation. My body just kind of naturally grew, and yeah, I felt good about it. And my coaches put me on a good plan, and we are just kind of all communicating. We're all on the same page, so it made it fairly easy.
One of the things that, only having 4 losses is incredibly impressive through the first 3 years of your career. One of the other things that's most impressive to me is the Big Ten tournament is like a mini NCAA tournament. And you see guys who win NCAAs and never win a Big Ten title. You're 3-0 at Big Tens. Technically 9-0 with 9 matches, but 3 Big Ten
Yeah.
tournaments, 3 Big Ten titles. It's kind of crazy for you, like you've got a lot of accomplishments, a lot of accolades. Where do your Big Ten titles stack up?
Yeah, the Big Ten is a really crazy tournament. I tell people that all the time. I said, listen, what happens at the Big Ten tournament doesn't mean that's what's going to happen at the Nationals, because
Yeah,
Big Tens, everybody that is at the Big Tens knows how to wrestle, and so it is such little margins that separate everybody there, that if a guy's weight cut isn't right, if somebody's not feeling well, or like those little things have huge effects at those tournaments.
yeah.
So yeah, I like the Big Tens. I think it's a pretty cool tournament, and I'm thankful to wrestle in that conference because it just really prepares you for the postseason. Every Friday or Sunday night you're wrestling somebody who's pretty darn tough and throughout the dual season. So no, I don't know how I'd rank them against any of my other accolades. I think they're just pretty cool tournaments to be in, and um, I think just watching my teammates compete at those two is really special for me. Um, the Big Ten is a little bit smaller scale, so it's easier to be out there watching your teammates compete, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. And yeah, that team camaraderie at the Big Tens is something that I really appreciate.
And you guys have no shortage of team titles. I'm curious where the team titles, whether it's Big Ten, NCAA, you guys have literally no shortage of team championships. Where do all the team titles stack up with the individual ones?
Yeah, no, the team titles mean a lot more to me than the individual stuff. Watching one of my teammates achieve their dreams is way more special to me than watching myself achieve the dream of mine, because you're just kind of that second point of view, watching them put in the work and the dedication, and being disciplined, and then watching them achieve that dream is I don't know how to really describe it. It's just super awesome to be able to watch it all come to fruition for them. So I was telling everybody this year when Mitchell won the Nationals, it's like, man, I've competed against this guy. I watched him come in our room. I'm like, this guy's going to be one of the best. And then seeing the work he puts in, how he conducts himself, and then watch him achieve that dream that he's been talking about and working towards, is there's just something really special about that. And same thing with Josh. I competed against Josh at who's number one when we were in high school. Then he comes to Penn State. We end up becoming really great friends. We train together, and then just watching him achieve his dreams is crazy. I think back to that Michigan duel in the Bryce Jordan Center. I remember when he gets like a last second reversal, I jumped up on the chairs, and I'm just like screaming as loud as I can. I probably look like such a idiot, but like just I would never do that for myself. But like when I watch one of my teammates do that, like the emotions that I'm overcome with, like I'm embarrassed in how I act sometimes.
It is crazy. Sometimes the guys who are the most stoic, you're very stoic in victory. Nolf was very stoic in victory. But when your teammates, like, I remember being like in the tunnel at Rec Hall for the Penn State Ohio State duel probably 5 years ago now, and like it was when Nolf was on crutches and he was celebrating there's no tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, you gotta chill. Like, what are you doing? But there's that excitement for your teammates, and I'm curious because you guys are in such a unique position, and I was just talking about this with Josh, both on the podcast and off. Like, Penn State almost has this like log jam of guys, especially in the mid to upper weights where you are, where you've got guys transferring in, you've got guys transferring out, you've got big commitments or big commits coming here. What's your take on the depth in the room and kind of balancing that? I think the way I phrased it with Josh a couple episodes ago is like balancing that concept of iron sharpening iron with also like, hey, this guy wants his spot on the team too, and we're teammates. So there's camaraderie, but also there's competition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I think, it's all in how you kind of view it. Some guys kind of rise to the occasion, are like, all right, I'm going to use these other guys that are around me to become the best I can. And, we've seen it happen where maybe a guy isn't the guy at the time, and the main starter gets hurt. This guy is like steps in, and does really well. So I think that just again speaks to how competitive our program is and just how the depth of it. And I think that for me, a lot of people don't know this, but I lost my freshman year wrestle off, my first one, and then just kind of being ready to be the guy, like if need to be, and that's kind of how the coaches explained it to me. It's like just being ready to step in, and we believe you can win. I believe that in myself that I could win. So I think a lot of it is perspective. If a guy's like, oh, poor me, like there's a lot of good guys around my weight, I can go somewhere else and maybe start, or use that to just get better. And I always think about it too. It's like if you want to be a national champ, then you're gonna have to beat these guys regardless, whether it's in your room or if they're wrestling for another team. So that's kind of how the way I've always viewed it. But I think a lot of our guys, we all do a pretty good job of, we don't make it a me versus you kind of scenario. It's kind of like a me versus me. Like we're going to use each other to just be better versions of ourselves. So I think there's a lot more beneficial growth when you do it that way. You're just trying to become a better version of yourself
Yeah.
and competing against yourself rather than be like, all right, I'm just going to go to practice and beat this guy. Uh, I think when that happens, you kind of really limit yourself and how much you can grow. And I've definitely fallen into that trap. Um, Whether it's, it's not even sometimes like guys that have been at my weight. It's been guys above me, below me. It's like, oh, I want to beat this guy. When in reality, that stuff doesn't really matter. Um, yeah, kind of just rambled there, but like just going back, I think it's a lot on your perspective on it and how you view it. But I think the iron sharpens iron kind of mentality is good, as long as you're not making it like a me versus you scenario, because then you
Yeah.
become kind of selfish, and you don't elevate each other as high as you can. Like if I make a little adjustment and then you're kind of competing against this guy, and then he has to make that adjustment because he has just become a better version of himself, and then you just kind of chase one another. And I think you can reach some pretty high levels doing that kind of stuff. So it's very unique in the sport of wrestling in that
Yeah.
aspect, because it's one guy who gets out to go out there and compete, and it's not where you're rotating a lot of guys in. So um, I don't know if that answered your question at all.
No,
It's kind
it does. It's open ended because it's your take on the depth at the room. It's a unique thing where you've got guys like Rocco Welch, who's a
Mhm.
returning national finalist, being like, I want to come to this room. I want to get better. Like I want to be here. And you have situations with guys in that spot or in that weight, and it's like there's a lot to manage. And I know, knowing the coaches well, the Penn State track record of success speaks for itself, obviously. And there's such a winning culture there. And at the helm of that is what I think, and I'm biased, of course, but I think is one of the greatest coaching staffs in the country. And I don't even know if you have to be biased to think that. You got Casey, Kale, Cody, Varner, Gilman, Lee, Zane. Like, it's just between the Penn State and LWC coaches, I don't know that there's any coaching staff in the country that you could honestly say, hey, this coaching staff rivals that. For you, like, you have all these other things in the room, the depth, this guy, that, like, you have all these things, but at the center of it, you have what I believe is the best coaching staff in the country. What's it like for you having those coaches and that leadership in the room?
Yeah, it's very special. You kind of went down through the list of everybody, and a lot of those guys maybe don't get the credit, but we have guys like Jordan Conway who sticks around. He works out with a lot of guys, and just a lot of different perspectives and wrestling styles. And what always amazes me about our coaches is the sheer amount of time and effort that they put into everybody. Like if you want extra help, I mean, if you ask our coaches to come in at 10 p.m., they're going to be there to help you. So um, the level of dedication that our coaches have is just, in my opinion, unrivaled, and that is another reason why they are as good as they are. I think our coaches too. also help guys develop off the mat. And I think that's why you see our program be so successful, is because they take the time to get to know guys, and they tailor kind of their coaching to that guy's needs, and whether that's on the mat or off the mat. Um, our coaches are willing just to do just about anything, because they not only want to see us be successful on the mat but also in life. So um, yeah, I'm very thankful for our coaches, and there's no one that I'd rather wrestle for than those guys.
Yeah, and switching gears a little bit, I'm kind of just thinking about all these different excuse me, all these different things we're talking about. And it's like you roll through a gauntlet of a D1 wrestling season, let alone the Big Tens. And then there's no off switch. It's the dual meet season in the Big Ten. Then you have Big Tens. Then you have NCAAs. Then you have Pan Ams. Then you have the World Team Trials. Now you're going to Final X. Lord willing, the World Championships in September. And you're going to roll right into your senior year. There's no off switch for you. How important is like perspective on, maintaining, whether it's your goals or whatever it is, that you can compete this much, and if you're competing that much, you're training nonstop and trying to, you might not be trying to prevent burnout, but trying to prevent burnout and ensure that your competition level stays high. And what's that like throughout the year, where there's, on a year like this especially, there's just no off switch?
Yeah, that's where I put my trust in the coaches with the schedule that they kind of developed for me. I sit down with them and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking for competition. What do you think?" And they might, have some ideas on it. And then our coaches really let it up to us if we want to compete or not. They're like, "Hey, listen, if this excites you, we're there for you. But if you're like on the fence about it, probably not a great idea." So. And then just schedule wise, I think they have it down to a science, better than anyone on training schedules. And you don't forget how to wrestle, so you don't always have to be training at this high, crazy pace. Like, you can back it down, and as long as you're taking care of some cardio stuff, you'll be ready to go when the time comes around. So I think that, like I said, our coaches just scheduling is uh, better than anyone else's out there. So what they tell me is what I do, and just follow that plan.
Now, you are a little crazy because
Every wrestler's a little crazy.
this is extra crazy because I'm just thinking about it. If you win Final X, which I believe you will, the World Championships are mid-September. Aren't you also getting married in September?
I am. I'll be getting married the week after the World Championships. So I made sure that we have time in there. When we were looking at dates for the wedding, I made sure that I wasn't going to be competing. So a
I
lot of
mean,
my life is scheduled around wrestling, so I'm pretty good at it at this point.
so I mean, God bless your fiance, because I mean, she's going to be
Uh,
doing the lion's share of like the planning, where it's like you're a week out, you're getting this and that, and it's like if you're over in, where is it, Croatia, the World Championships, it's like, man, a week before your wedding, that's tough. I'm just now thinking about that.
yeah,
Um,
she's a saint, that's for sure. She has always been super supportive and say, hey, whatever I need to do, just let me know. So yeah, I'm very blessed in that aspect.
I do love. I'll bring it up because I've been on record saying I don't like the post match interviews. I understand the need for them. I get it. Like, I think they should do them, but I also understand that it's hard for both people asking you questions to come up with questions on the spot in real time, and then you just got done competing. You don't even have time to process what just happened, and you're giving answers.
Right.
So I typically stay away from them because I'm like, let's do it on a random Thursday like we are right now. But it was funny. Most of the time before I have somebody on here, I listen to a couple of their interviews and see if there's anything I want to pull out and have us talk about. And it was funny because out of the 5 minutes, the 5 minute post conference you did after, I think when you won, you're like answering questions, but when somebody asked you about your family, it was like the first time you smiled during the whole press conference.
Yeah.
Like you were happy. Like I don't think it was just a question. It was just like, it was kind of, for me, just looking at it, it seemed like you were just processing how much your family means to you and how much it meant, and you're kind of connecting the two. How much has your family been a part of this journey with you? Like, see, right now, you still can't contain smiling. Like, you can tell how important it is to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my family is everything to me. So my my parents have made some crazy sacrifices for me to kind of chase this, like you said, kind of a crazy dream, Um, and there was a lot of people that told me I was kind of crazy for it, and but my parents never did. They were always in my corner, willing to do whatever they needed to do. And I always tell a story about my parents. They would drive me 3 days a week to State College, and I was from Biglerville, Pennsylvania, and that's like a 2-hour drive, just one way. So 3 days a week, my parents were driving me 2 hours one way to go to an hour and a half practice and then back home.
Wild.
And they're both teachers, so they're working some long hours during the week, and then Sunday nights we're going up there. And my dad also owned his own business for a while, so he wasn't only a school teacher, but he owned his own business, so he's doing that. He's a wrestling coach, so the amount of sacrifice that they've all made is just super blessed. I don't know any other way to put it. And then my fiance, she's sacrificed a lot of time and things that she's wanted to do to, accommodate my training schedule. Had to leave vacations early, had to miss important family stuff for me competing. So yeah, my sister too. She's a beast. She's the reason that that I might be as good as I am, because I was fending for my life out there. But no, she's amazing. It took a lot of time away from my parents being able to do stuff with her, and she played soccer at Lock Haven, and so I know they missed some of that stuff for her to go, and it means the world to me when they're all there. And I'll never forget, like after every national tournament, my favorite part is being able to see my family and them all being right there, just because it means so much for me, because I know the work that they put in. Like, the people see me out there competing, but they don't see all the sacrifices and the time and effort that they put in. So I might be the one who gets to go out and compete, but a lot of the work that was done for me to be in that situation was done by them, and they don't get nearly enough credit. So yeah, it's hard for me not to smile when I think about that stuff. And I know they do it again tomorrow if it was asked of them. So
it's crazy, man, having a 3-year-old son that, and a 2-year-old daughter, but thinking of like wrestling. And it's like, if my son wanted me to do that, it would be so hard for me to say no, because it's like you want to do anything to put your kids, like, it's a love that I can't describe. And so I'm sure they feel it too. And it's crazy, because I was talking to Josh about this too. Like, okay, so let's say you go to the World Championships potentially, you're getting married, and then you're heading right into your senior year. And I feel like for the next year, this is I'm going to talk about this with a couple of you, that we have been inundated with 5th and 6th year seniors because of COVID. And you are the antithesis of 5th, 6th, 7th year senior, where it's like your career is almost done. 1 year, and it's like I think Josh said it on the podcast, like, you're actually older than him. No, younger than him.
Yeah, I'm younger than Josh. Yeah.
You're younger than Josh, and you only have 1 year left. Like, it's crazy, and I'm curious for you. Like, you're very young, and you haven't taken any red shirts. This is not only have you not had like those 2-3 extra years between red shirts, COVID years, all that. You wrestled straight through. You have 1 year left, and you're done. I'm curious for you. Do you find yourself in that leadership type position of being a senior and being the guy? Like, you're young. You didn't take those red shirts. You didn't kind of take that extra time, but you've not only, you're very mature. You've also had the success, the results. Like, do you feel yourself coming into that leadership role?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not a super outspoken person. If a guy wants help, like I'm more than happy to help him, but I'm not gonna call somebody out or whatever in that kind of authoritarian leadership way. But I think just trying to lead by example. I was always a guy like I was constantly watching like the best guys in the room and like how they conducted themselves and how they were off the mat and just like picking up on those things. And I'm like, hey, I want to be like these guys.
Yeah.
So I think actions always speak louder than words because you can tell somebody you want them to do this or they should be doing that, but if you're not doing those things yourself, it's like, well, why would I listen to this guy if he's telling me one thing but he's doing another? So I always try to kind of lead by example, and I don't think somebody's ever too young to learn from them. That's why I love going back to M2 and watching these little kids wrestle and how they interact. You can still learn stuff even from these kids who are 5, 6 years old. Some of the most like aha moments I've had and like technique and stuff has been helping little kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, like something I just took for granted and didn't think about. Like I just naturally did it. It's like, well, this is why you do it, or you're trying to explain it to them. It's like, well, why do you do that? Kids
Right.
always want to know, well, why? Why would I do it like that? So I think just always being willing to learn, no matter who it is super important, and just being coachable is huge. So yeah, I guess in a way, but I think everybody has their own kind of leadership piece on our team. There's a lot that I've learned. Josh is in his first year, even though he's older than me. I learned a lot from him in the last year, and that goes for everybody on our team.
You've been a part of this Penn State culture now for 3 years plus, every day. What do you think is one thing about being a part of the program that people might not realize from the outside unless they've actually been in it?
Yeah, I guess that's hard because my perspective being on the inside. I think the way a lot of people view us is like these high level athletes. Like sometimes they forget, like we're still just young men living our lives, and uh, I think that a lot of people think like that we had to be perfect and that we don't make mistakes and whatnot. But obviously, we all still make mistakes, and sometimes people can be pretty critical of that. That's probably one of my like I don't really get too wound up if somebody like says something ill of me, just because it's whatever. But like when somebody talks ill of my teammate, it
Yeah.
really bothers me, and I would like I know responding is not the right way to go about that, but it takes a lot of self control for me not to do that because they don't really know these guys, like
Yeah.
so. I would say just I mean it's across all college sports, but I just wish people probably realize that um, we're just we're just people too. It's not like we don't make mistakes, and I feel like that just being underneath that college athlete kind of lens can lead to some scrutiny that's probably a little bit unfair in a sense, but I guess everybody's entitled to their opinion as well.
I feel like at this point, Penn State and gratitude go hand in hand in conversations, whether it's interviews, whether it's commentary. Like you hear Penn State, you hear gratitude, and the two are kind of synonymous at this point. And I remember I had a conversation with Gary V, not on the podcast, but I actually wish it was on the podcast. But
Yeah,
we were talking about perspective and gratitude, and he said for him, like, if he wakes up and the five people he loves the most are healthy, he's extremely grateful. Like I feel
yeah,
like gratitude looks different for everybody. And when at the time, like I didn't even have kids yet, and now that I have kids, that means so much more to me because if my kids are healthy, like it's pretty hard to have a bad day if you know you're going home and your kids are healthy.
yeah.
For you, what does applying gratitude to your life look like? Like I feel like gratitude is so different for everybody, and sometimes it just gets lumped in. And whether
Hmm.
it's I feel like sometimes I even feel like a lot of people will say it just to say it, like just in general. But for
Yeah.
you, like, what does that gratitude specifically look like?
Yeah, I think it just kind of depends what I'm doing that day. Obviously, like being grateful for your health because there's a lot of people that would love to be in the situation that I've been blessed with, and being grateful for my health is something that I always think about, and then grateful for the family that I have. I've been very blessed with the family that I've been given, so I always think about my family and my health, but also like it's really easy for me to just look at like the most simple things, and it's like, man, I'm really grateful for this because if I didn't have this, my life would look so much different, and whether it make it more difficult or more challenging or whatever, so. I also love the outdoors, so I think it's really easy for me. Like when I go and I'm out in the outdoors, it's like super easy to be grateful out there because you just look at how simple things are, and it's like, wow, like all the technology we have and things. It's like this is like you don't need all that stuff to be grateful. You don't have to have all the fancy stuff. It's like when you're out here and the things you get to see and that's I just feel like I'm flooded with gratitude every time I'm outdoors. So I'd say gratitude for me is definitely I feel it the most when I'm outdoors and just puts things in perspective and reminds me of what is truly important.
I only have a couple more questions, and then we're going to get to some rapid fan questions from Instagram. But I do have one rapid question that's kind of related to what you just said. Who is a better outdoorsman, you or Josh?
Oh man, that's I probably have a little bit more experience outdoors than he does. Um, Fishing though, I'll tell you what, that dude, like I'll get fed up with fishing and be like, man, I'm just ready to go. That dude will, he has no quit in him. Like he would be there for days. It took him days to catch certain fish. So I really appreciate that about him.
I just hooked him up with my buddy Don to take him fishing, take him tuna fishing. So you might have to tag along for that too if you're into tuna
Oh, I definitely
fishing.
will. I'll definitely mooch that. Right?
Yeah, I'll definitely get you in that group chat. I wish I could go, but I get seasick too easy. So unfortunately, I'm like, listen, I'll go in the bay, I'll go in here, but out there tuna fishing, and I get sick for that. One thing that I love personally about the Penn State room and getting to know so many of you is how much your faith means to you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the role your faith has played in your career thus far.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I've grown the most in my time at Penn State, and I'm super thankful for it. I've wrestled trying to do everything on my own without having any faith, and it is extremely difficult. Even if you are successful, the amount of anxiety and stress you feel is just it's very hard to manage on your own. So
Yeah.
when I grew up with faith, all those things became not easier, and it's something that you still deal with, but having your faith to rely on in those circumstances is um, it makes them more manageable for sure. And I mean, I still fall into those traps, um, where I start kind of trying to rely on myself and lose sight of my faith. And so that's something I'm even still trying to work on now. But yeah, my faith has played a huge role and in my competing, but also outside of competing and just how I view my life. And I think once your faith becomes a priority to you, it's like the wrestling stuff's pretty simple and it's just something you do. It's not, what it, I always used to think like everybody just thought I was a wrestler and like I put a lot of weight into that.
Yeah.
But once I kind of grew in my faith, it's like, no, you're not, it's wrestling just something you like to do. And so I think wrestling's given me a lot of opportunity to grow in my faith, but also share it with other people. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah. And I'm curious too because you say like a lot of people think you're just a wrestler or this or that, and it's like I know from knowing you, one of the things you're most passionate about is hunting, fishing, and we got a lot of rapid fire questions that I feel like involve both of those. But
Yeah.
you're not active on social media. You'll collab on posts and you'll partake in like NIL posts and stuff, but for the most part, like over the last couple of years, you haven't posted too much. For you,
Hmm.
what's been your view on social media and kind of deciding where you want to put effort into that and where you just kind of want to let it be?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of gone both ways with it, and I'm actually looking into starting kind of some YouTube stuff with my hunting and fishing kind of adventures. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I really enjoy it. And some of the things that happen to me out there, I'm like, I have to start videoing this stuff, or people aren't going to believe me. So, um, but yeah, I think for my wrestling wise, it's just been, I never got into wrestling to, post about it or be like, look at me and what I'm doing. I think that stuff's all great and growing your brand. And I imagine eventually I might have to start doing more of that stuff for, I work with certain companies and whatnot. But um, for me, it's just time and energy spent into something that I don't really care a whole lot about, and I'd rather take that time and energy and spend it in other places. But I think I am going to start getting more active on social media, but more in the outdoors kind of stuff rather
Yeah.
than wrestling, because I think having something like that outside of wrestling is good, and just if I start this YouTube page, start promoting it and stuff, I think that could be beneficial and could connect me with some pretty cool people in the future. So, but yeah, I don't think social media is bad. Obviously, like there's guys out there right now that are doing really good on it. Bo Bartlett, who's on our team, he's done some amazing stuff and is, um, I think it's kind of a unique kind of inside look into what our sport is like. So I think we need people like that, and for the sport of wrestling to grow, I think the social media stuff's good. But I think for my role, that's not my role. I think my role in the sport of wrestling is sharing my faith, and I think I've done a fairly decent job of showing kids, even though you face challenges and you might come up short, doesn't matter. You can just get back up and keep going. I feel like I'm a pretty good testament to that, even though that I've taken some losses and come up short in places. I always just get better from it and keep going. So I think that's kind of more my role inside wrestling than being on social media. But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's pretty cool. I think about Bo Bassett. His following is I mean, pretty crazy, really, when you think about it. He's like
It is.
world famous from wrestling, and I think he does a really good job of conveying wrestling. And I think it's definitely good for the sport. But like I said, I just don't think that's my relationship with the sport, and that's just not my area.
I think it'll be cool too if you're starting to post content about hunting and fishing and outdoor stuff, and it's like there's such a market, and we can talk offline about this. Like, if more wrestlers were just posting content about what they're passionate about, that still
Yeah,
helps the overall brand. You don't have
right.
to just post about wrestling. People want to
Yeah,
see what you're passionate about. If somebody sees Levi Haines wins the Big Ten championship, and then on Monday they see this, like they want to see what happens Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They saw the match. Like, so many
right.
wrestlers get into a trap of just like, here's a still shot from the duel, or and it's great to post those, but there's so much more. So I think that's kind of more of a trailblazing approach. I like it. Um, I'm not only gonna follow it. We'll see if we can get you some NIL deals. And listen, I got a quarter acre pond. You're more than
There we
welcome to.
go.
You're more than welcome to come up. It's fully stocked with
That's
bass,
awesome.
carp, bluegill, you name it. So we'll talk about that. Last question before we get to some fan questions. Final X in like 3 weeks. Evan Wick,
Hmm.
you've wrestled him before. What's your perspective heading into this best of three series here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to competing again, and I think just being able to wrestle in a 2 out of 3 series is something pretty unique. Usually you only wrestle a guy one time in a night, so getting to wrestle him twice is really cool. And I've got to watch the Final X in person and online, so being able to compete in it's pretty cool. Watching that tournament, and yeah, obviously he's a tough competitor. He's proven himself, and I imagine that we're both going to make adjustments from the first time we wrestle one another, and I'm not going to put too much weight into that match. Just going to go out and work on the things I've been working on in the room, and just try to be better than the last time that I competed.
I love it. All right, let's get to some fan questions because these came in all day long. Some from teammates, some from fans. Um,
My
some
teammate.
will, yeah, you got some of that. I'm just gonna start picking some random ones. Sometimes I get people like, "Why didn't you pick my question?" Honestly, I'm just trying to not like. There's hundreds and hundreds of questions, so I'm just randomly picking ones. And also, if you ask a really dumb question, I'm probably not gonna say it. All right, let's start with this one. What is your bucket list hunting trip?
Bucket list hunting trip. This is hard. I would like to go to Alaska and shoot a Dall sheep. I think that would be really cool. It's very expensive, so I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that'd probably be my dream hunt.
I can't believe how much some of these trophy hunts are. I've got a client in New Mexico. I sent Bo Nickel with them for a trophy hunt, and
Yep.
I didn't kind of realize how much it was. I just connected them, and they were very happy to take Bo out on a hunt. And when I found out after the fact how much it would have been to just pay for that trophy hunt, I'm like, oh my
Crazy.
gosh, these are like monster trophy elk and mule deer
Yeah.
and everything else. It's
Wow. It's wild how much money you can get wrapped up in it.
Yeah, it's crazy. What do you prefer when eating, venison or beef?
Venison.
Favorite cheat meal?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'm a sucker for peanut butter. I love peanut butter for whatever reason. An actual meal, it'd probably be chicken parm from the old New York.
Mm,
It's
chicken
really good.
parm. You can't go wrong with that. You can only pick one for the rest of your life. Hunt or wrestle?
I get asked this question a lot, and I just tell people they're two very different things. I mean, my body's gonna fall apart at some point from rest. I feel like I could hunt for longer, but I don't know. I can't imagine life without one. You know.
Brody Teskey wants to know: have you ever shot a Midwest whitetail?
No, I've never shot a Midwest whitetail. I really want to. I, the, yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't. I've shot deer in Pennsylvania, Maryland, but never any Midwest deer. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Wrestling
Donovan
makes it travel.
Donovan Ball wants to know
Oh, no.
who is the best turkey hunter that you know?
The best turkey hunter that I know. These are tough questions.
I'm not picking the easy ones, man.
I would probably say my dad. He's got away with turkeys, and so he kind of taught me a lot that I know about turkeys, and he doesn't get to hunt them a whole lot, but usually when he goes, he's on them for sure.
What was more nerve-wracking, proposing or wrestling?
Proposing for sure. I got asked that question before, and I told him I was like, "Listen, I wrestle every day. Like wrestling's like something I do every day. You only propose hopefully once, you know."
Right.
Like it was crazy nerve wracking. Like I was worried I was gonna drop the ring because I was shaking so bad. It was
Dude,
crazy
it's
nerve wracking.
crazy. Like, I knew my wife was going to say yes, 100% confident. And still, there's like an aspect of nerves. It's like, why am I nervous for this?
Absolutely, yeah, I knew too, and still, yeah, it's a different kind of nerves for sure.
Favorite song to hear in practice?
Oh, probably the Gambler by Kenny Rogers.
Okay. I don't know if I heard that. I'm going to have to listen to that one.
You don't know the Gambler? Oh,
Hold
boss,
on.
come
Time out.
on.
It's probably one of those songs that I know. I just don't know the name of it. Because sometimes when I
Yeah,
say that, then I hear, I'm like, oh, that song? So
yeah,
I,
you know it. You
I'm
know it.
sure. Yeah, it's probably one of those songs I just don't know the name of. Um, if you could go pro in any other sport, what would it be?
Probably ice hockey. I think ice hockey's so sweet.
Really?
Ice hockey, I love it.
Man, that didn't even take time to like think about. That was at the tip of your tongue.
No, ice hockey for sure.
How old were you when you started wrestling?
I was 4 years old when I started wrestling.
Oof. Man, that's a long time to be wrestling. What was your hardest match of the season this year?
I don't know if I could pick a hardest match. I think each match kind of brings a different kind of challenge because just kind of styles that guys have and whatnot. I think every guy kind of just brings a unique challenge to the table.
Favorite, there's kind of two questions similar. Favorite thing to hunt for and favorite type of hunting. So if you want to merge those two into one.
Yeah, it had to be bow hunting whitetails. I love bow hunting whitetails. It's everybody should experience it.
I'll make a deal with you. So I've got 10 acres up here,
Okay.
and we have. I'll send you the video after we get off this. We have like 100 acres of farmland to one side and woods on the other. So
Okay.
whitetail are always jumping through our
Oh yeah.
property. They rest on our property and then they go eat on the farm fields, come back,
Yep.
chill, drink from the pond, and go in the woods. I
That's
get a
awesome.
lot of offers, or I get a lot of requests. Can I hunt your land? Can I hunt your land? And I say no.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to want somebody to bow hunt because it's
Yeah.
less risk on the
Yeah.
property. Bow hunt, and I want some of the venison.
Absolutely. That.
Okay.
Yeah. No problem.
All right.
No
That
problem.
that's a
Yeah.
deal.
I think. Yeah. In that scenario, I think like being able to manage deer like within close quarters of the houses is super important. People don't realize that. So that's like becoming a really big thing now. Is like hunting within kind of like suburban areas. So just being able to manage deer populations because if you don't, then they get out of control and then you're hitting them with your car and they're
I,
eating all your bushes and shrubs and stuff. So
yeah, my wife
definitely,
doesn't want them eating her garden, so
yeah,
it's
they're good at doing that. That's for
and
sure.
it is crazy too because we've got one deer. I think we call him Hamiti. We've actually one of the deer. Like, there's a lot that are growing in our property, and one has 3 legs. And I see him
Oh
every
yeah,
year. I take the drone up and I take it back there, and I've literally have multiple videos of the same 3-legged deer
so,
hopping back and
they're
forth.
so tough. They're so tough. They don't get enough credit. They're so tough. It's unreal.
All right, let's see here. Kind of a lot of the similar ones. Some are so silly. How hard does he work? Obviously, very hard. What do you? How much of your strength is being a gym freak? Did we lose him?
You
Oh, you're
there?
back. Yeah, you're back. All right,
Yep.
this one was how much of your strength is being a gym freak?
I don't think a lot of it is. I think it's just like wrestling my whole life and being in wrestling positions, and I think some of it's genetic. Actually, I'd say a lot of it's genetic.
Here's a good one we'll end on. I love one of these. Some of these questions aren't just questions; they're like comments. This one question is he's him. That's just he's him.
Uh,
All right, here's the last one we'll end on. Were there times you felt like you weren't getting better, and what did you do as a result?
Absolutely, yeah. There's been a lot of times over my career that I felt that way, where I hit kind of like a plateau, and it was kind of wearing on me. And um, I think in times like that, um, I think expressing that to your coaches and um, having their support, and I think my faith has helped me with that a lot. Because even in times where I'm like, man, there was times where I felt like I was getting worse. I'm like, I'm trying these new things. I feel like I'm getting worse, but I think just like planting that seed and waiting for it to grow. Like you might not see results right away, but eventually, you'll see those results. And I think in those times, what really helped me was just being disciplined and doing the right things, even though I wasn't seeing the results right away. So it might not. It's definitely not easy at the time, but being consistent and uh, yeah, doing the right things is what helped me get through those times for sure.
I love that. All right, Levi, thank you for making the time to come on here. This was a fun
Absolutely.
chat. I hope
Yeah.
everybody who
Fun.
I hope everybody who listened enjoyed this. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to this so you have more fun conversations, and also be on the lookout when Levi launches a YouTube channel. I'll share that out.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll do a collab YouTube video when you come to my property and hunt it, and we'll do a collab.
Awesome. That'd be sweet.
We'll do a collab, bow hunt, whitetail, and then also trying to see how big the bass have gotten in the pond.
Yep, I like it.
All right. Idea. I love it, Levi. Thanks for making time. Best of luck at Final X. I will be there rooting for you. I do have bias. Sorry, fans that don't like bias. All right. That's the show, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
See you, man.